Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sky Observers Hangout. We're so glad you could be with us today. My name is Michelle, and I'm the Director of Public Observing at the Adler Planetarium, and I have a friend joining me. Hi, Adriana.
It's me. So my name's Adriana, and I am the astronomy educator at the Adler Planetarium. Joining us behind the scenes, we have more friends for you. In our YouTube chat, we have moderator Robert, who is answering your questions, as well as our astronomer friend Geza, who I like to call Stargazer.
We all like to call him Stargazer.
We all like it. If you see a name with a blue wrench next to it in the chat, that is Geza helping us by answering your questions and your comments.
There you go. And if you see the Adler Planetarium name in yellow, that's Robert. So if you want to say hi to Robert, I'm sure he would love to say hi to you. Now, Sky Observers Hangout is a place for us to gather together to nerd out about the sky. Our goal is to give you practical tips that you can find useful about lots of things related to sky observing. If you want to just watch, that's totally fine. We would also love to see your questions and comments in the chat. So if you are signed into YouTube, you can communicate with us directly. Feel free to interact with us, with Robert, with Geza, or with each other. We would love it all.
Absolutely. So to get the chat rolling, tell us, where are you tuning in from? Go ahead and share your name and where you're tuning in from in the chat, and tell us if you've seen a meteor shower before. And if you have, which one was it?
Yeah, we'd love to know that. So while the Adler's doors must remain closed, we're doing our best to keep our virtual doors open by creating and sharing some out of this world content for you. If you wouldn't mind, use the link that Robert is going to put in the chat in just a little bit to donate what you feel comfortable to contribute to our programming. Thank you so much for allowing us to keep sharing our universe with you.
Yes, and you can help us get more visibility for our shows by just hitting the subscribe button for the Adler Planetarium's YouTube channel right below this video. If you like us, you can go ahead and give us a thumbs up also. So I'm going to take a look in the chat to see who we've got tuning in today.
While you're doing that, I know we have to say hi to Louie. Hi, Louie. I know you're out there. Oh, sorry. No, it's not. Is it Louie? And yes,
yes,
it's
there
Louie.
is a Louie.
And we've got Brent and Avery. So we've got some returning people. So who else
Thanks for
do we
coming
have?
back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back.
We've got, let's see, Linda from Chicago. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you. Karen from Kenosha. John Larson from suburban Chicago. Hello again. Fred. Nice to see you, Fred. Catherine Smith from Chicago. Lots of friends. Thank you all for tuning in tonight.
Yes. And, Adriana, I need to take a little side trip here because apparently there's some information that I guess is making its rounds to YouTube that has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight, but I want to end it right here. So no, the moon is not going to leave its orbit and crash into the Earth. That is not happening. So if it was, we would be talking about that and not meteor showers. So we can dispel that right now. The moon is not leaving its orbit and crashing into the Earth. You have nothing to worry about. All right, everybody, take a deep breath. And now we're going to sit back and watch all kinds of cool stuff about meteor showers. Anybody else you want to say hi to before we go on?
Sure. We've got Lori, who has seen the Perseid meteor shower many years ago. I have also, that's the only one I've seen too. So very excited about the Perseids. And some other friends who've also seen the Perseids. And some friends who haven't seen one yet. So we're going to show you what you need to know to find it.
Well,
find one. See one.
Awesome. All the above. Yes. So thanks for coming, everyone, and continue to share where you're writing in from and what meteor showers you've seen, because it'd be great to share that information amongst each other, not just with us. Now, we titled this show Often Overlooked Meteor Showers. Notice that a bunch of people mentioned they've seen the Perseids, and that's great. It's one of the best meteor showers of the year. But there are two other major meteor showers that are also among the best of the year. One might argue the one coming up in December is even better than the Perseids. The Geminids peak the night of December 13th into the morning of December 14th. So that's coming up Sunday night into Monday morning if you're watching this in 2020. The Quadrantids peak on the night of January 3rd into the morning of January 4th. Most people haven't heard, either you haven't heard of those, or if you have, maybe you don't pay too much attention to them. And why is that? Well, if you're watching us from the Northern Hemisphere, it's wintertime in December and January. It may very well be cold where you are. It might be cloudy where you are. It can definitely be cold in Chicago, but if it happens to be clear, put your observing these meteor showers on your list of things to do. We're going to give you the knowledge and the tools to make observing the best it can be. All right. So, Adriana, you ready to go on?
Yeah, I do have one quick clarification. They happen every year, don't they, Michelle?
Yes, they do. So if it isn't clear where you are this year, you got next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. So yes, meteor showers happen every year. So that's why we can show you this stuff, and it will be useful information into the years to come. All right, shall we?
Yeah, go for it.
So what are meteors? Well, we often say space is empty, but that's not quite true. It's mostly empty. Really almost completely empty, but there are bits and pieces out there between the planets. If something is a meter or just over a yard in diameter or larger, we call those objects asteroids. If the object is less than a meter in diameter, we call those objects meteoroids. Now, every day, little meteoroid bits and space dust and stuff like that impact Earth's atmosphere at a high rate of speed. And this is where you at home can help demonstrate what happens to much of this stuff. All right, you ready?
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and lead us in a science experiment here, you guys. Go ahead and take your hands, put them together, and rub them really fast. Are you doing it? Yep. Excellent. Michelle, what do you feel?
Heat.
Caused by?
Friction.
Yes.
Science.
Now, if you want to take it a little bit further, go ahead and rub your hands together at several tens of thousands of miles per hour. Almost.
I can't do that. No.
All right. If we could, right, they would get super, super hot. So objects traveling tens of thousands of miles per hour through Earth's atmosphere, they tend to heat up and burn up due to friction with the air. And this happens quickly. So what you see on the ground is a very fast streak of light. And that streak of light that you see is called a meteor. So that's what you see when you see a shooting star. When you see that quick streak of light, you aren't actually seeing the bit of thing that is coming in from space. You are seeing the air around it. 1 second here. There we go. The piece of space debris is usually small and it's far away, but the air around it gets so hot that it emits visible light. You might typically see a meteor for a fraction of a second or maybe up to a few seconds, and there may be up to 5 or 6 meters per hour on an average night if you are under a dark sky. Now, sometimes you can actually see colors in the streaks of light. Those colors that you see depend on what the little bit from space is made of, how fast it's going, or even the composition of the air that that little bit is traveling through. So when we're talking about meteors, we next have to split the conversation into 2 parts: random meteors and meteor showers. Random meteors that you might see now and then are just bits of space debris. Much of this stuff is really small, like walnut-sized, pea-sized, or even the size of a grain of salt.
Or even smaller. Now, meteor showers, on the other hand, are caused when Earth runs into the trail of debris left by a passing comet or asteroid. Now, let's take a look at what this means. So I'm going to share my screen. And there we go. Cool. All right. So this is an item from our historic collection. Now, the image is showing you several planets, right? So you can see it's got all sorts of stuff. It's got planets and planet orbits labeled and shadows of those things into space. Now, it also shows a comet that crosses several planets' orbits. Now, the sizes and distances in this drawing are definitely not to scale here, but the important part is those orbit crossings. As comets and asteroids are warmed by the sun, dusty material sometimes comes off. And this stuff continues in the same orbit as the comet or asteroid. Eventually, the cloud of material expands outward and it gets strung out like a string of pearls along the same orbit. For a comet or an asteroid with an Earth crossing orbit, orbit or near crossing orbit. That means every year when Earth gets to the same spot in our orbit, we'll run into this trail of debris. We don't need for the comet or the asteroid to be right there. We're just crossing a portion of its orbit around the sun.
So that's why we see it every year.
Yep.
Makes sense. All right, so many meteor showers are caused by debris from comets. The Eta Aquariids, did I say that right?
You did say that right.
Thank you. In April are caused by the trail of debris left by Halley's Comet. The Geminid meteor shower is not caused by a comet. Rather, it is caused by the trail of debris left by an asteroid called 3200 Phaethon.
Good job.
Thank you. The Arecibo radio telescope in Puerto Rico, may she rest in peace, has imaged Phaethon. That is the animation that you are seeing here on this slide. Oops, sorry. Okay, so we first started seeing Geminid meteors in 1862. Phaethon was discovered in 1983, and shortly after, it was identified as the Geminid meteor shower's parent object. Exactly how this asteroid keeps this stream of debris stocked with enough little bits to keep causing the Geminid meteor shower is still a mystery.
Yeah, so it seems as though the amount of stuff coming off Phaethon doesn't match the amount of stuff that should be there. So what exactly is going on? We're not quite sure. That's the fun part of science. We don't have all the answers yet. Now, the Quadrantid meteor shower is likely caused by another asteroid. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a cute name like Phaethon. Its name is 2003 EH1. What may be happening is that these asteroids could be defunct comets that have lost most of their ices, but are still trailing bits of rock and other debris. But again, the amount we see coming from these asteroids is lower than the amount of material that should be there to keep these meteor showers happening and stocked. Now, here's a side view of the asteroid's orbit for Phaethon. So there you go. I think that is really cool. You can see where that asteroid crosses Earth's orbit. That's the blue line right there, right?
Cool.
And here is a top-down view of the asteroid 2003 EH1 and its orbit, and you can see where that crosses Earth's orbit. However, this isn't quite all the picture. We need to see it from the side. Now, if you want to play around with seeing the orbits of comets in our asteroid, in our solar system, check out the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory Small Body Database Browser. That's what we use to get these screenshots of 2003 EH1's orbit. Robert is going to put a link to that in the chat. So check out that orbit. I'm going to go back to this one. Looks like from the top down, oh, it's like in the same orbit as the planets. No, it is quite angled. It is really kind of cool to see that not everything in the solar system orbits the exact same way.
Neat.
All right. So I'm going to stop sharing here.
Excellent. I did see one question here that I want to ask you, Michelle.
Yeah.
Are the best views for Chicagoland in the December 20 to 22nd timeframe? That's what my wife and I read.
For the Geminid meteor shower, no. For the Jupiter-Saturn Great Conjunction, yes.
Yeah, that's what you might be thinking of.
Yeah, so the peak of the Geminids is always right around that December 13th, 14th time frame. And the Quadrantids, that same January 3rd, 4th time frame every year. But the Great Conjunction, which we're going to talk about at our December 21st show, and hopefully show it to you live, we hope, then that is December 21st. But it'll be visible for a few days before and a few days after. Well, actually, it's visible now if it's clear. But the two planets will be closest in the sky right around that December 21st timeframe.
Excellent. And then we have a follow-up here. When would be the best evening to view the shower, depending on weather? We will try to go to a large park down the street from us to minimize light interference. That's a good idea.
Oh, cool. Well, based on the weather, it just basically is whatever the weather happens to be above your head. So the peak of the shower is going to happen on the 13th and 14th, no matter what the clouds are above your head. So, so that's you kind of get what the sky gives you. All right. So if it happens to be cloudy, unfortunately, you may miss the peak. So any other questions?
You can try again next year.
Yeah, you can try again next year. That's the fun part about this is it's not like a lunar eclipse where you might have to wait a couple years to see another one. We know this is going to happen next year, or at least we're pretty reasonably certain it's going to happen next year. So any other questions?
Well, our next question leads us pretty much in the same direction we are going. So thank you for asking it, Lori. The question is, which direction should we look for the Geminid shower or just look overhead? So we're going to talk about that. You'll want to put these meteor showers on your annual skywatching calendar, and Michelle is going to show you exactly how to find them.
Exactly. So those of you who have joined us before, you have probably noticed that we use Stellarium quite a bit. And give me just a second. I need to configure something on my screen so I can bring up Stellarium. There it is.
No problem.
There we go. All right. Can you see Stellarium?
Yes.
I think you can. All right. So Stellarium, STELLARIUM.org. And if you go to that website and you go to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see the button that you can press, or the tab you can press for the live web version. So you don't have to download it. It's free. You can, but you can use the live web version just like I'm using right here. So I'm going to set this up for December 13th. So if you go to the lower right-hand corner of the screen, I've already got this set. I allowed location access. So the site can detect where I am, and you can see that in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. So where you are would show up there. And if I click on the button on the lower right-hand, I want to go to December 13th. There we go. And we're going to start right there. Okay. So the meteor shower, the Geminid meteor shower, is named for the fact that if you map all the trails of the meteors in the sky back to a point in the sky, they meet at the constellation Gemini. So Gemini constellation is where we get the Geminid meteor shower. And so it's called the radiant point. Now you'll notice that I don't have I got this set for 7 o'clock on July. I keep saying July, December 13th.
We all a little bit wish it was July.
I know, don't we? Oh my goodness. Anyway, you'll see at that point, Gemini is still pretty low. But what you can see right after sunset, even a little bit before this time, so let's go back in time, maybe an hour or so. Right after sunset, you'll start to see what we call Earth grazers. And those are meteors that kind of grazing Earth's atmosphere. You might see a handful, you might not. So it's kind of hit or miss as to whether those might be visible or not. But let's go forward to 9 p.m. So that's 2100 on a military clock, which is what this is here, a 24-hour clock. And so you'll see the Gemini constellation is basically straight east. You go outside, you face east, you look up. That's it. That's all you have to do. Yep. Totally easy. All right. So if you then look at a wide swath of sky, it's not like all the meteors will appear right near Gemini. They're gonna spread out. And so, but if you were to map them out, they'd go back to that constellation Gemini. But that's also a fun thing to do. If you happen to see another meteor in a different part of the sky and you notice it doesn't point back to Gemini, that is just a random meteor. That might not be an actual Geminid, right? So 9 p.m. is actually a great time to start going outside and looking up. Then if you want to maybe come back in, have some hot chocolate, maybe a little bit of coffee, a little caffeine, keep you up a little bit. You want to go out after midnight on the 14th, maybe to about 2 in the morning. At that point, Gemini is basically almost straight up from our area here, from our latitude, Chicago's latitude. And so that is the absolute best. At that point, we are our point, that the radiant point is almost above your head. The meteors will appear to be coming down from that area of the sky, and you'll want to just look over as much of the sky as you can. And no telescope, no binoculars, nothing like that. You just want to use your eyes and bundle up. So what you want to see is You want to see this under a dark sky if possible. If you're under a light polluted sky, like in a city sky, you may see 5, 4, 2 meteors an hour. If you're under a really dark sky, you may see dozens of meteors an hour. And in some cases, some people under a perfectly dark sky have seen well over 100 meteors an hour. But light pollution definitely tends to knock that down. All right. Okay. The other cool thing is the moon is not going to interfere with the Geminid meteor shower this year. Sometimes it does, but not this year. All right. So, did we cover everything on the Geminid meteor shower? Did I miss anything in my notes here?
Not that I can tell.
Awesome. All right. You ready to go on to the Quadrantids?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Now, the Quadrantids, that's a kind of a weird name, right? So I'm going to change my screen sharing here. So I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second. Quadrantids are named for a constellation that kind of technically doesn't exist. All right.
Oh.
So yeah, I know. poor meteor shower. So we've got it back on my screen here. There we go. So this is a picture from a card set called Urania's Mirror. This is also from our collection. And if you look above the constellation Boötes, so that is the guy holding the dogs, and yes, that is Hare sitting next to him. That is another constellation called Coma Berenices Hare. That's for another day. Yeah, just
what
her
a
hair,
great depiction.
not her head,
I just love
not her
it.
body. Yeah,
just
she looks like Cousin Nick. So above Boötes, you will see this interesting looking instrument. It's called a quadrant. Now, a few hundred years ago, if you wanted to make up constellations, you could. You could draw your own star maps, and if people bought your star maps, great. You could name whatever you want in the sky. And so they named this constellation after a quadrant. It's called the quadrant muralis, the wall quadrant, or the wall mounted quadrant. It's basically a navigation tool that could hang on the wall. And so that's what this is. Now, when the International Astronomical Union, close to 100 years ago, when they came up with their list of constellations, they did not include this constellation. But by that time, the name of the meteor shower had already stuck. So we don't have the constellation anymore, but we have the name of the meteor shower that still holds the name of a constellation that nobody uses. So anyway, there you go. All right.
Perfect.
Yep. And so I'm going to switch the share back to Stellarium, and then we will dial this up for January 3rd, 4th. So give me a sec. So I'm going to go forward in time. Isn't this the fun thing to do with Stellarium? Just to go forward in time and literally watch the time move.
Exciting. I'm also glad that we're getting a meteor shower for New Year's.
Yeah, it's a New Year's meteor shower. So this is the night of the 3rd into the 4th. And if you take a look, so just above Boötes, which is this area right here. So if you face east, kind of northeast, look up, there it is. And so look though over to the upper right, you'll see the moon. The moon will interfere a little bit this year. But it's going to cut down on the number of meteors you see, kind of like how light pollution does also. So again, a handful of meteors per hour, 2, 3, 5, if you're under a light polluted sky, and a few dozen if you're under a less light polluted sky. But the moon is going to be there for everybody. All right. Gotcha. Now, what's interesting is this particular meteor shower, there's only a narrow window of time to view the peak of the Quadrantids. The peak only lasts about 6 hours. The moon will interfere, but if we happen to catch it during that peak, that may up the number of meteors we see to dozens per hour. All right. Now you go, all right, I want to sleep in. It's going to be cold. If you're telling me I may only see like a dozen meteors in an hour, okay, maybe I won't sweat this one. Well, in 2022, the moon will not interfere. And actually, we can show that in Stellarium. I have this set, by the way, for 2 o'clock in the morning on the 4th. But take a look. I just went forward by a year. There is no moon. So
Great. Next time.
It's good information. Yeah. So these meteor showers are yearly. If you want the latest information on the meteor showers, I highly recommend going to the American Meteor Society website. The website is amsmeteors.org. They have a great calendar. All right. Any questions before we go on?
One I see here. What theories are there about there being more debris than expected? Asks Cameron.
Ooh, that's really good. It may be that maybe we're not quite understanding the mechanism for release of the material from this particular asteroid. That maybe there are other physical processes going on that we just haven't observed in long enough to account for them. Geza may have some other information that he might have put in there.
Yeah,
yes,
I think he's answering the question at the same time as we are. So
oh,
Geza
good.
Says
I hope I
too.
didn't. I hope I told him told the correct information.
Well, the number of meteors we see is related to the amount of dust and debris released by the parent body, but only on average, and there is a long delay between dust being emitted and hitting us. Cool.
Oh, so maybe there was a big release at some point in the past, and maybe we're just not seeing the amount released right now. Or sorry, maybe the amount released right now means, ooh, would that mean maybe we don't get as plentiful of a meteor shower in the future? Question mark. That's interesting to think about.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions before we go on?
I think that is all we've got for now, but keep them coming if you have them, friends.
Yep. And if there's anything else you want us to show via Stellarium, I've still got it up on my computer, so we can handle that. So keep your questions coming. All right.
Great.
Go on.
So many people ask us where to go to find a dark sky where you can best see meteors. If you live in the city like I do, you know that maybe this is not always the best place. But the sort of good news is that there is not a single best place to go. You can just go outside, face east, look up, especially if you can find a place that has less light pollution. So light pollution drowns out fainter meteors just like it drowns out faint stars. So going to a dark sky location means that you get to see more meteors. To find places with lower light pollution, there's a light pollution map online that you can use, and our friend Robert is going to link that in the chat in just a bit, and I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. If you just give me 1 second to get my screen share going.
And while she's doing that, that site is simply lightpollutionmap.info. So that's pretty easy. So, all right.
We're having momentary technical difficulties.
No worries. That's all right. Talk amongst yourselves.
Oh, here we go.
Plan your meteor shower outing. All right, there we go.
All right, can we all see it?
Yep.
Excellent. So let me give you a little bit of context for what we are seeing here. This is a light pollution map around the Chicagoland area and a little bit further probably. But right here where this pin is dropped, we have the Green River State Wildlife Area in Illinois. Now, to give you some context, these different colors on the map are indicative of how dark the sky is in these different places. So where you see the white that's completely surrounding the city of Chicago, that means that there is a lot of light pollution.
White equals bad. Lots of light pollution, yes, or lots of sky glow.
Yeah, very bright.
Yes.
In other places where you see bluer and grayer colors, those places have less light pollution. So those are going to be better places to go observe something like a meteor shower. Now, in general, the colors in between, I just want to note some like yellow places and green places, those will still be better than like white. So it all exists on a scale. But here we have the Green River State Wildlife Area in Illinois, which is a place where a lot of amateur astronomy folks like to go observing. And if you take a closer look, you can see that it is green. So it is going to be a better location for observing something like a meteor shower. And this is just one example. There are other places to do this kind of stuff, of course. Michelle, was there anything else you wanted to add about this location in particular?
So it's about an hour and a half or so west of the western suburbs, so it's not too far away. It's one of the darker spots in the state of Illinois, so it's not too bad. It's a reasonable drive out there, really pretty area. Also, if you want to go out there, I highly recommend calling the ranger's office before you go. They do allow hunting out there, so you want to just check and make sure that the parking lot isn't going to be filled up before you even get there. Make sure it is safe to stay after dark because they may have restrictions put in because of the current pandemic situation. Just give them a call ahead of time. They have had lots of amateur folks go out there in the past, so just give them a courtesy call, make sure it's okay. And then if they say, sure, come on out, great. And if you happen to see a hunter nearby and you all want to enjoy the sky, fantastic. Share the sky with anybody you meet out there. And then another area in the state of Illinois, if you're not near the western, northwestern suburbs area, the Middle Fork River Forest Preserve in near
Where's
Champaign,
that?
Illinois. What's that?
Where's that?
So that is if you go south. So if you wanna, can you zoom out on your map a little bit?
Yes, I can.
We're kind of winging it a little bit here.
There we go.
There we go. All right, and then scooch the map upward. So head toward the south. There you go, and zoom in just a tiny bit. So kind of go toward Champaign there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. All right. Do you see where it says, yep. So do you see where it says Urbana and Rantoul and Danville? So if you go kind of up at about 2 o'clock on, if Urbana is, yep. So a little bit closer. Gotcha. So yeah, right around in there is where the Middle Fork River Forest Preserve is. That is a Champaign County Forest Preserve. So again, just check their website ahead of time. Make sure it's cool to go down there. They do allow camping, but just check for restrictions and all that before you go. It's better to do that than make the 2-hour drive and find out the hard way that you can't go. But that's another great place. And Adriana, have you been there?
I have not.
Oh, I haven't either. I know several of our viewers have. So if you've been to either Middle Fork River Forest Preserve or Green River, please give your observations about the location in the chat, because our fellow friends who have never been there would probably love to know more about it. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, it's darker than here. Let's be real. It's darker than the city of Chicago and the suburbs. So those are good spots to go.
Yeah. And just to make a note, I know Chicago is a terrible place for seeing something like a meteor shower, but in the summertime, at least, I have seen like 2 meteors an hour from Chicago for the Perseids. So if the rates are about the same for these, it's still possible to see something from Chicago. It's just going to take a lot more patience and a lot more time.
Yep.
Yeah. So still worth trying, I would say. But
I would say so too. And it's worth hot chocolate and coffee and all that fun stuff. Definitely get your hand warmer packs, load up on hot drinks. Unfortunately, I know this is going to be surprising to some people. Don't put alcohol in your hot drinks. Alcohol makes you feel warm, but what's happening is the blood is going to your skin and going away from your core. So that actually makes you colder in reality. You feel
devastating.
Warmer, but yeah, I know, but you're not. So don't take alcohol out when it's cold if you're trying to keep warm. Like I said, bundle up, layer, and then layer some more, and then layer even more than you think is necessary. You will get amazingly cold in a short period of time. Get your feet up off the ground if you can. Bring a chaise lounge or a chair to get your feet up off the ground. You'll be surprised at how much more comfortable you feel just by lifting your feet up out of snow or off of cold ground. Or if you're even on concrete or anything like that, get your feet up off the ground. So, all right.
Good to know.
Any other tips based? I know that you've been out with me when it's been a little bit chilly. Any cold weather tips for our friends out there who may be going, I don't know?
Well, you might think to yourself, maybe I don't need to wear at the same time every single cold weather piece of clothing that I have. I just want you to know that you're wrong. Bring them all.
Yep.
It is better to be too warm and then remove something and fix the problem than to not have enough layers with you. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
And if you happen to get wet or sweaty and a layer gets wet, have something there to change it out. That's the worst thing is being wet and cold. So
Yeah.
just be really careful when you go outside. But these 2 meteor showers can reward you handsomely. And so we said they're often overlooked, and there's a reason, because it's chilly and it can be cold. But it's looking possibly kind of decent, maybe possibly, for the Geminids this year
So
for the weather.
hopeful.
Yeah, I know. I don't ever want to say this
We don't
far
want to
out
jinx
from a
it.
date what the weather's going to be like. Anyway,
Totally
any
fair.
questions or comments before we go on?
Yeah, we've got quite a few questions here. So
Yeah.
let's see. What's the window for viewing around the peak? 1 or 2 days?
I usually would go like a day to either side. But usually those peak estimations, especially from the American Meteor Society, usually those peak estimations are pretty good. But you'll notice that with the Geminids, they ramp up and then they kind of ramp back down. Perseids are known for that. But those Quadrantids, it really is just that like 6-hour window, and they don't like ramp up and ramp down. It's that 6-hour window, and then those kind of shoulder times, and then it's not worth it. But for the Geminids, if you need to go like a day early, then like Saturday night, then for 2020 Saturday night, that's a possibility as well. You may not see as many, but that's a possibility.
Great. We've got another question here. If light takes a long time to be visible to us, then are these showers actually happening now? Yes.
Do you want to handle that one?
Yes. So this is significantly closer than all of the other stuff that you imagine is happening out in the far reaches of space, where we're seeing stuff that's happened like hundreds and thousands of years ago. So because this is so much closer, the light doesn't take nearly as much time to travel to us. So it is basically happening now, like effectively happening now. There's always any kind of light that you see, there's going to be a time delay. Even somebody standing in front of you, there will technically be a time delay. It's just very small, so you don't notice it. But it's not going to be big enough for it to make a huge difference.
That's right. That's right. These meteors are burning up somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 to 50 miles above your head. So this is a really, really close phenomenon. And actually, think about the word meteor. This is a sky phenomenon. The word meteor, where else do we know that word? Meteorology, as in the weather. People knew these were sky phenomena and possibly even Earth's atmosphere phenomena. So it is not a coincidence that meteor and meteorology share the same root word. So
yeah, also a good point.
Yep.
We got a similar question, which was how far away are these meteors, which you just answered. Thank you, Michelle.
No problem.
Can I ask for suggestions near Bloomington, Illinois? My recommendation is to go on that website and look for places that are going to be at least like a couple of shades lighter than the sky in the actual city that you're in. So it'll make a difference. As close to like the blue, green, gray colors as you can find on that map near you at a distance that you're willing to go, that's where I would go. So we can't give a particular perfect answer for every single place, but there is absolutely that resource there to help you find a place that works near you, that is accessible to you via car or whatever your mode of transit is.
One thing you may want to do is go get the list of Illinois state parks and wildlife areas.
Yeah.
Find one near you, see where it is on the light pollution map, and then give them a call and say, hey, I want to just come see some meteors. Do you mind if I stick around for a few hours after you normally close? They may say no, but you never know. They may say yes, because you may not be the only one who contacts them any particular year. They may already know about meteor showers like this and certain sky phenomena. So don't be surprised if you're not the first person to contact them. So I would say there's a lot of state parks that don't allow overnight stays, but just ask. You never know. If you don't ask, the answer is no.
Fair
if
point.
you do ask, it might be yes, but definitely contact them ahead of time. But try to match up that state park and state wildlife area map with the light pollution map and see what you got.
Yeah. Excellent.
I forgot. And you may also want to check county forest preserves. That's another resource. So your local county may have a forest preserve site too that they also might use for something like this.
Great. We've just got a fun comment that I'm going to point out. Brenton says, I'm a meteorologist and I get asked all the time if I study meteors.
The answer is yes. I study weather phenomenon. That's awesome. Oh gosh, we are budding amateur meteorologists in this house too. We watch the radar scope app on our phones and see the crazy storms and stuff. So yeah, I wish I could talk about weather related stuff. That'd be a lot of fun. A little bit too much of a tangent for this.
All
right. Any others?
Terrell asks, how many telescopes do you have there?
All right, let's see. I have this one here that belongs to the Adler. So I brought it home at the beginning of the pandemic thinking, hey, maybe I'll get to know this telescope. Lo and behold, we've been using it for some photos and things we've been taking for Sky Observers Hangout. This one here is a telescope that we take out for Scopes in the City when we're able to do our telescope outreach program. And then the one in the gold one right here, that is a solar telescope. So that's a Coronado telescope that looks at a particular wavelength of light from the sun. And I'm going to pick up my computer a little bit. And I think you can see it behind the gold one is the one in the corner.
Big silver tube.
Yeah, it looks like a stovepipe. It's not. That's a telescope that I built at the Adler. So about 20 years ago. So we no longer have that program, but yes, I've got 4. Is it 4? I'm looking around. I think it's 4. 4 telescopes here.
Only
one of which is mine.
Geza asks, too many? And I would just like to say, Geza, no.
No.
It's always exactly the correct amount.
Yeah, whatever it is. I mean, we have acquaintances, especially through the Chicago Astronomical Society, who have many more telescopes than this. I'm a novice telescope user and collector compared to some of those folks. So yeah, no, this is nothing. All right.
So that pretty much wraps it up for our show about the Geminid and Quadrantid meteor showers. Tell us, how did we do? So we'd love to get some feedback back from you. Robert is going to link a feedback survey in the chat. It'll only take a very short period of time to fill out. And if you wouldn't mind doing that, it'll help us make our shows even better. You can also send suggestions for future show topics that you are curious about. And if you've filled it out before, that is fine too. We'd love the ongoing feedback also. You'll also get to the forum via the link in tonight's program description. If the chat closes before you can click the link, you can always access it there.
All right. Now, our next show, so exciting, Monday, December 21st. It is going to be at a special time, 5 p.m. Central. So we want to do that because our topic is the very, very close alignment called a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn happening just after sunset at your local time. So your local sunset time, about 45 minutes or so after sunset, you'll be able to go out and see this. So we wanted to do this show at 5 o'clock Central when we can say, go outside and actually see this if it happens to be clear out. This will be the closest that those two planets have been seen in the sky from Earth since the year 1623. It's called the Jupiter-Saturn Great Conjunction or Grand Conjunction, either one. We're calling it the Great Conjunction, and we'll be doing our show while that is visible. So don't forget to subscribe to the Adler Planetarium's YouTube channel, and you can hear about all of our great online programs. And thank you for joining us tonight, everyone. We'd love to see you, Brent and Avery and Louie and everybody else. We love that you are joining us week after week. We hope to see you again. We hope to see you on December 21st. So get out and see the Geminid meteor shower. Get out and see all this stuff. And if you want to send us your observations, you can do that via the Adler's social media feeds. They'll be up on the final slide that I'll bring up in just a second. And use the hashtag lookup. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Good night.
Have a great night, everyone. Good night.